Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the June 17th regular commission meeting in Walsh County. I'm going to call for additions to the agenda. Any?
No.
Amy?
No.
Paul?
No.
Ernie?
No.
Fifty? Okay. And myself, none. Amazing. Okay, everyone was provided a copy of the June 3rd, 2025 regular session meeting minutes and the June 9th, 2025 special meeting minutes for review, along with the monthly bills. Do I have a motion?
I have
Oh,
in the June, the regular meeting, under the Board of Equalization, I think there should be a note added that no one appeared
okay.
to the board. So I think that's important for,
Yeah.
Other than that, I would move to approve. Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, now we have employee time. All right, Kelly, are you okay if we jump ahead to you? You're on at 9:10, but
Yes,
is that all right?
yes.
Okay, we'll bring Kelly up for resolution for limited tax capital project fund bonds. Multiple.
Yes.
Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning. In your packets, we have the final resolution, the resolution determining that no protests were filed. So we passed the initial resolution back in April, if you recall, and then it was published in the newspaper and there were 60 days given for any protests from any landowners. And it's my understanding there's no protests were filed. I believe Ms. Quibble has done the certificate regarding no protests have been filed. So what this resolution does is it allows us the potential, not that we have to, but to bond against the capital projects levy. So that's what the purpose of it is. Any questions for me in a nutshell?
Paul,
So I just wanna make sure I understand this levy is already on the books, we're already doing these 10 mills. And what we're doing this morning is just allowing us to bond against, so we would use these mills to pay off a bond
Correct.
in the future if
Yes, if that's what, yes.
So can I ask what these funds can be used for? Is there specific things or?
There's 6 things listed in the statute. It's kind of like what it sounds like, capital improvement projects. So one of those is jails. To build a correctional facility or to contract for correctional facility inmate space, those sorts of things. So it includes both those and then it includes other improvement projects. I
So,
believe.
like-
So there's a list of 6 under the statute. I'm sorry, I didn't bring the statute with me, but there are specific things that it can be used for.
So like if we wanted to put a boiler in the Chase building or a roof on the Chase building, that type of thing?
I believe that probably falls under one of those provisions on the improvements.
Okay,
so we did have to designate when we started taking these 10 mills for the capital project fund. We did have to designate what we were going to use them for at that time. And it was voted upon by the commission to use them for the HVAC system and a jail.
okay,
Yeah, so that was
That
done
was
prior
very-
to your time, Paul,
okay.
just so you're aware of that.
okay. And that was 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I believe it was 2
Yeah.
years.
now, yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, if not, do I have a motion to approve? Let me read this. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution for the limited tax capital project fund bonds?
So move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll take roll. Danny?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carried. Thank you, Kelly,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Oh, maybe I should have you introduce your
Externs?
extern.
All right, yes.
Okay,
We have-
why are they called externs and not interns or what?
It's because they're not paid.
Oh.
They get college, law school credit.
Credit,
for,
okay.
Ally. Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you, Ally.
And Jacob Merlock.
Nice to meet you.
Ally's last day is tomorrow. She's been with us for about the last 5 weeks, so she started pretty early, and then Jacob will be with us for a while.
End of July.
End of July.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Okay,
so they're helping us out. It's always nice to have them in this Australia.
extra help,
Extra help. Yes.
bet you're learning lots,
Yes.
yeah, we have a good,
More so than school.
yeah, I believe it. We have a good person to learn from,
Definitely, yeah, both JR and Kelly have been amazing.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's been awesome. I got to see this part of North Dakota and then Dickinson last summer, so
Okay,
I got to see lots of North Dakota.
where are you from?
Los Angeles.
Oh my, oh wow, you didn't come in the winter? Because you can't, you're in school then.
I've had 2 winters, but luckily, knock on wood, I've been told that they've been all very
Yeah.
easy. I was told to bring the heat when I came and when I visited for the first time, and I guess I did, so let's hope for one more, because I gotta drive out this time in December, so,
Okay,
yeah.
good, well, and Jacob, you're local,
I am local,
Yeah.
Minto, yep.
yeah,
So I did my undergrad at NDSU and now I'm doing law school at UND, so
Okay.
I've been in Red River Valley my whole life.
yeah, well, good, well, welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to. Well, 9:15. Ron, are you good if we keep
Ready.
going? Okay,
Yeah,
I'll bring Ron up for a jail update. Good morning, Ron.
good morning, everybody. So just a little update on where we're at with the jail project, and on June 12th, the jail committee met with the Samuels Group and a representative from Malavadas, an architect. And we are working with them to drop a plan that Sid Samuels will present to you on July 1st. He'll be in person to present the plan to you.
Any questions?
Are they gonna just have one option or are they gonna have more than one or?
Just remember that any other options as far as what comes about with more plans will cost more money, of course, so they're gonna present a plan and you guys can okay the plan or not okay the plan, but I think there will be options, but options from them, right? Elevatus and Samuels.
Sorry, oh, sorry,
Go ahead.
they're gonna come with a new. Drawing.
Yes,
And an estimate of. cost.
correct, yes. That will all be, yes, and they're coming in person, Sid is, and so yes, there will be a totally new plan.
Very good.
For jail only. So, yes, we've been working hard on that and looking forward to present that to you guys on July 1st.
Yeah, we felt it was best if Sid came up himself and presented what they have. So. Our problem has not gone away. And we're still looking at a way to resolve it. And what we could do with the funds we have, and we're actually gonna talk about that next with Tanya and Ann. When she jumps on, so.
Let's have any questions, I'll let Tanya come up.
Amy?
Do we have a, I guess we're still in the contract with Sid, Sam, I mean, at this point, we're still under the original
Right.
for.
We are, yes,
Mhm,
and Elevatus too,
right.
so yes, that continues.
Yeah, the way I understood it, we have them contracted up to. Point where we will make a decision, and then if we make a decision to say. not do anything, then we're done. If we make a decision to move forward with the plan, then we need to relook at look at contracts. Maybe that's not a good way to state it, but that's what I understood.
I think that's a good way of putting it, yes.
Paul,
This is a little off topic, but it has to do with the jail. Have you gotten any results from the last inspection?
Yes. We did have our inspection, there were 9 deficiencies that we were able to correct. And the report will be finalized, they give us 30 days to correct the deficiencies, and that was done within the 30 days, and we'll have a final report coming soon, so I did give them a copy of the letter saying that we were gonna continue to look at options. And that seemed to satisfy them for now, so.
Good.
That was an issue, but I think one that was corrected, taken care of with that letter, so.
Good.
okay, any other questions for Ron? All right, thank you, Ron, appreciate it. Tanya, we might have to wait, right, because Anne is on at 9:30.
Calling, yeah, and I did just message her, realizing you're running really ahead of schedule, but she
Yeah.
hasn't replied yet, she's
That's
traveling
fine.
right now, so.
That's fine, we can jump on to a few other things.
Okay.
I think, maybe we can have, let me look.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, Christie,
Yeah.
we could go down to Christie's section, okay?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll have you start with the facility improvement grant bill.
Okay, perfect. So the historic construction sent the bill for that, for the grant. You guys haven't seen it. It looks wonderful up in the courtroom now. It looks like it's been like that since the very beginning. They did a great job. But anyway, when we were trying to figure out how to pay the bill, we looked back, and it looks like in the past, the bills are getting paid out of random funds. And I'm coming wondering, I need a direction from you guys on where we should take this out of. The motion did not say how or what line item we're gonna use for this. My concern with using county general miscellaneous is that the bill is 33,874.22. We only budget 20,000, but we will be getting 25,405.66 back. So the difference is $8,400.
I was going to say, we did not approve 30.
No, exactly, yes.
The 25%.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
just 25% is the county, so my concern with how fund accounting works is you can't deposit back into an expense account. So we're gonna take 33,874.22 out of county general miscellaneous. At budgeting time, it's gonna look like we're way over, there's no way to tie that to the reimbursement from the state. So what my suggestion would be is that we create a new line item. It won't have a budgeted amount. But we'll do a line item for an expense account for this, cause it seems like every year they have been very successful at getting these grants. So going forward, my recommendation would be to create a line item for an expense as well as a line item for revenue. Then it's very clear when we're looking through budgets, how much went out and how much came back in.
I like that.
So that is just what I was hoping that we can discuss today and clean it up for going forward.
I like that idea. Is everybody else good with that?
Are you able to do that for this year or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we would just create a fund line now and do it that way.
Mhm.
So it'll look messy at budget time because it'll show that there wasn't a budget amount, but county general's paying it anyway. So, but then going forward, you guys can add into the budget too, how much, so that this is budgeted every year, so.
So could it just be something as simple as your jail facilities improvement fund? folder?
Yeah, thought I would just use the court, make
Or
it
code-
the facility improvement grant.
Yeah, not jail.
Yeah,
Court,
yeah,
excuse me.
yeah, the facility improvement fund or
Yeah,
something
I
like
like
that. So that it's very specific on the revenue and expense side,
Mhm.
financials, you know exactly what it is.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I would probably say facility improvement grant fund, because if we see a line item that's just facility improvement, it could be a little more gray.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but may I? And I
Yes.
should say court too,
Yeah, not, yeah.
because it has to be something related to the court, I believe.
Yeah.
That's the only place that its grants can be spent.
Yes.
I believe so.
I think they actually apply through the court system, they apply through the state, doesn't it, or something?
Yes,
And then they always come down to us if they get accepted for grants, they come down to us and ask for a 25%
right.
reimbursement.
The state has facility improvement fees that they usually tap on in any criminal judgment. It's $100 per, so I believe that all goes into a fund for the improvement of court facilities.
Yeah, I feel just so it's very clear, so we're not 5 years
Mhm.
down the road, you know, potential different and we don't understand, you know, what this is specific, cause it would really just be one. I mean, there's not gonna be multiple things
No.
going in this.
If
It
it's
would be,
once a year.
right,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, sounds good, you don't need a motion for that, do you?
No, I don't think.
I don't think so either,
No.
so, okay, there.
Okay, and then the next thing is the auditor treasurer annual conference. So that annual conference is Wednesday. I'm sorry, I should have had that ready. The 25th, 26th, 27th, and it's in Watford City. And because of all the legislative changes, it was decided that I should go with Christie to that. So that I can
Watford City.
I know, is it right? It's a long drive, so we would have to leave late afternoon on Tuesday to get there. So my question, we have one staff member that is going to be on vacation, that whole week. Anna's part-time, so, Anna will be working, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that week. But that is payroll, and the way that payroll lands this calendar month, we don't have a lot of, we only have 3 days to really process payroll. So instead of a week. So, my thought was, I'm coming hoping, if we can close the auditor's office Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Anna will be in the office on Wednesday, but, she's doing payroll and I don't know where she'll be at in the process on her own. I don't know what else to do, or just have Thursday, Friday closed. And then she would be doing all the deeds as well as trying to close up payroll, cause then she's done, you know, she's only working 3 days a week. She would then the next week be dealing with payroll still, and some of that stuff is very time sensitive, so.
So Linda would be here as well?
Yes, Linda will be in, take care of the treasurer's office, yes, but the deeds are the biggest thing, cause Linda hasn't been trained in on the deeds yet. So deeds would not get done for sure Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week, unless another department would be willing to be appointed a deputy auditor for deed purposes only, and then they would continue to be done. We also thought about taking I'll have the computer as well, but the deeds have to be recorded the same day as the auditor's office stamps them. So it's not like we could do them in the evenings and then have the recorder's office record it the next day. So timing on that it's not perfect.
Sorry, are you saying, Christie, the only way we can get around the whole deed situation is by closing the auditor's office?
Well, that would announce that deeds would not, then that would announce that the law offices would not, expect, yeah, they wouldn't expect any deeds getting done, and I'll be honest, the, law offices are, a lot of them are either closing at noon on Fridays or all day Fridays in the summers, so it really would be Wednesday, Thursday that we could possibly have deeds. I mean, we do get deeds on Friday, I'm not saying that, but the heaviest would be the possibility of Wednesday, Thursday. Deeds have been a concern since I started, you know, and workload wise and that, so, I will take any, and I know Christie would take any, suggestions on how we can make sure, I've reached out to other counties on how they handle deeds. I had one county say that sometimes it takes them 3 weeks to get a deed done. Here, we're expected within, a couple hours to have the deeds done. We're short staffed, it's going to be tough on the staff that's gonna be left after I leave, so.
Why is it so time sensitive?
Well, it holds, I mean, people, I suppose, closing agencies, the law offices, you know, our part stop, you know, if we're slowing down on it, then closing agents can't record, you know, close a loan or whatever, so. I don't know what the turnaround, is, but I do know that I checked with other counties and it isn't something that's, as sensitive.
Well, I think it's very important that they go to the meeting. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
It's not something that happens every month, and if we gotta do it one time.
When Christie reached out to me, I was good with closing Thursday and Friday. In fact, I already gave her approval to close Thursday and Friday as her portfolio holder. My concern lied with Wednesday. You know, being 3 days, since we would have a person in the auditor's office and a person in the treasurer's office. That was where my concern lied. So I said, I think I want you to bring that to the whole commission for you guys to weigh in as well. The whole issue about the deeds having to be done immediately. I have a little bit of I understand that we want a quick turnaround and I wanna keep that as well, but. There are extenuating circumstances sometimes. I mean, if our recorder is out. On sick leave for 2 days, those deeds aren't going to get done, or out on vacation or out at a conference, those deeds aren't going to get done. So I think we have to have the same. Same respect for your office as well. So do we really need to pull, I guess my concern was, do we really need to close that auditor's office down? Just so we can send a message out to say that, hey, deeds aren't going to get done that one day. And that's where I wanted to get your guys' input. Thursday and Friday, I'm totally good with. We're down to only one employee between the two offices. I understand that we need to close that, but Wednesday we did have 2 employees still in the office, so. Amy,
So on that Wednesday, I guess, beyond deeds, would there be, in your, opinion, a lot more busy work? Essentially, you're kind of saying it would pull, like Anna's goal would be to focus on payroll. There would be other busy work items if it was open that could pull her. So then my question becomes of, not saying Tanya's, but is there anything that could help payroll wise? Like, could there be things that could be delegated to either speed up that process or assist with the payroll process? So if there is more busy work things that come in, that's what I don't know. What will her day look like if it's open versus?
Exactly, and I don't know that either, and we're trying, we're hoping that the departments can get us the information ahead of time. So we can start working on it, so, cause we don't really get any of the information until Friday afternoon and Anna's not here. So it is just 3 days, or it's really 3 days, the file has to actually be sent by end of day Wednesday. So once the file's sent, then there's all this other stuff, and I agree, it's just, her day's gonna be busy, if we were here, her day would be busy with one thing, how much we already are spreading everyone so thin, taking the pressure off, saying. It's okay to not prioritize the deeds, knowing that there's 3 days, 2 more days that the deeds aren't gonna happen, that was my concern as my staff, sending the message that. Your day is full, she has 8 hours at least that she has for payroll related stuff. I mean, payroll can take 2 weeks, and we're trying to slam it through, So, that was my concern about Wednesday. And of course, if there's something that if she gets ahead, or if, we'll work hard to get it done Monday, Tuesday, sort of a deal. Then of course, then if there's deeds, she would do it. It wouldn't be like she would be gone, but, this was my only thought on taking the pressure off of her.
So I'm very in favor of just making sure we're putting the word out early to those that need. Could we be open Wednesday, but we still declare no deeds are being done? Would that help?
If that's, yeah, I don't know how that looks, Yeah. I mean, I have no problem, yeah, if we just said that deeds won't be prepared or processed on Wednesday. Yeah, that would be fine, cause she'll obviously still be here to answer phones and, any of the other random daily stuff. It was just taking the pressure off of her, feeling like she had to get these, try to prioritize what is more important, knowing they're not gonna get done Thursday, Friday,
I just think it's super important we get the word out ASAP, but like Ernie said, this isn't a repetitive, and I don't know if we do need to discuss the turnaround and what we've considered to be a fair amount of time.
I do think we need to look into that at some point here.
I agree.
What's good for one office has to be good for the other office. you know, we can't just expect that the auditor's office is always going to have those deeds turned around that day. Because there are times they can't be turned around that day in the recorder's office. So do we need to look at appointing someone else as a deputy auditor, which is my understanding, we can do it under any department? It could be in the tax department, it could be, you know, it can be in another department, you can designate someone. It's something that we have discussed.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
try to find it, cause we know how sensitive it is too.
I think the more backup we have, the better,
Right,
right?
without a
You know,
doubt.
if we wanna have this, hold ourselves to this high expectation of having those deeds turned around within 2 hours or 3 hours, then we need more backups. So, but that's a discussion, I think, for another day. Right now, we just need to look at, I guess the feeling was, okay, we're going to be closed Thursday, Friday, as long as you guys are okay with that, I did make that call. What do you feel about Wednesday? We'll have 2 employees in there, yes, Anna will be busy majority of her time with payroll. Do you want to leave the auditor's office open on Wednesday and get the word out that deeds will not be processed that day? Or do you want it closed?
I'd vote for closing. Done deal,
Okay,
no confusion.
rest of you, how do you feel?
I guess I'm pretty indifferent, I wouldn't be opposed to that, it's one more day, it's a extenuating circumstance here. We're short-staffed, I'm not, I don't really understand the urgency of the whole deed process, and that there's something there I don't understand or know, I don't know why that's so critical that it happened on the same day. I'm missing something there, but that, like you said, is a conversation for another day.
Right, maybe what we should do at some point is ask Yvette to come in and maybe explain that to us, so that we can understand why there is such an urgency. I mean, I appreciate a quick turnaround time, I really do. But I also think there are times that it's not possible.
Yeah.
So we have to have some leeway there.
Anyway,
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would say too, my other concern if we're not closed would be if Anna's here Wednesday and someone does come in or call for a deed, and what is she gonna do? I mean, it's like, is she gonna say, sorry, we're not able, or is she gonna feel obligated to do it,
Well, it
or?
would come directly from Yvette.
Oh, okay,
It would come,
So
not
you would
from
say-
the outside, right, it would come from Yvette.
Yes,
Okay.
so the recorder that brings it to us, so then if she just wouldn't get any of the deeds, so she wouldn't even know if there were 16 deeds sent that day.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
I'm in favor of just keeping it.
So does Yvette, if you're closed these 3 days, does Yvette sit on those deeds then until Monday
yeah.
and not record them? Is that
Yes,
what's
yes,
happening?
we have to do our piece first, yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah, well,
Okay.
it's not perfect timing because, I'm sorry, 50, you know, but end of month, the next, you know, on Monday, the 30th, so
Mhm.
timing just isn't the best, but that's what we're facing, so.
And just so you know that I did ask Christie if she would attend the auditors conference with Christina. I mean, I left it up to her because of course what. I can't really tell her what to do anymore.
Well, you can.
Not that I ever did tell you what to do. But
Yeah.
I felt it would be beneficial for both of them to attend. So that did put us in a little bit of a pickle in the auditor's office, but I still think in the long run, it's more beneficial for her to attend than not to, so. Okay, so I'm hearing, to me, it's sounding like everybody's okay with closing on Wednesday as well. Okay, close on Wednesday as well?
Okay, thank
Wednesday,
you.
Thursday, Friday, auditor's office will be closed. That's July, what, 25th to the 20th, or June 25th to the 27th? Yes. Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
And then you have one more item.
Yes, just to remind everyone, I think you guys all got an email about the standing committees for the North Dakota County Commissioner Association. If anybody is interested in being on one of those committees, fill out the paperwork and send it in. I know they're always looking for new people.
So this isn't something we have to send as a county, this is just individual.
Into it, yes,
Individual commissioners.
yes, yeah, they just asked that we put it on the agenda and mention it to you guys that you guys are gonna apply to.
Have any, Denny or Ernie, have you ever served on any
Yeah.
of these?
I was on nomination committee, that's quite a few years ago.
Okay.
Somebody said you can't be on it if you're over 70 now, so.
I don't think that's good.
Yeah.
Did you just recently have a birthday?
No, I'm there already. Next one.
Oh,
I volunteered a couple years ago, but and filled some up, and they found somebody else, so,
okay.
and I was on it, so. Yeah. A lot of them are sometimes like conference calls, you don't have to go over.
Right, that's why it sounded, so. Yeah, so I guess I would encourage if anyone's interested, submit your name. Okay, thank you, Christie, is that it?
Yes, that's all.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right, we are at 9:30. Do you think Anne is?
Yeah,
Yes.
she's on, yeah. She's on? Oh, perfect.
Okay, Tanya, come on up. Good morning, Tanya.
Good morning.
So Tanya this morning has a jail finance update for us, and Anne Paulette, am I saying that right?
Well, yeah.
Paulette is going to be joining us.
Anne is, I'm just gonna turn it over to Anne right away. She's our expert. She's with Public Financial Management. And she's the one that has worked with us through this entire process, from the beginning to figure out how we would fund a project of this magnitude. So Anne, if you're on the call, I'm gonna let you take it over. Maybe she's muted.
She is muted, but
She has to do it.
Is she gonna be on the TV or just voice?
She's just calling in, she's traveling, so she was not gonna click on the Zoom.
it doesn't look like I can unmute her.
Okay,
Right, she's very good.
you want me to try? She's on the call, but she's muted.
Ask to unmute, I'm gonna say that, click on her button.
She hasn't responded to my earlier messages, so.
Oh, there. Anne,
Tanya, I can't open,
Right, can you hear me?
yeah, no, I
for
can.
some reason, it's not opening.
Do you want me to give you copies?
Yeah.
I didn't print extras, but you can go ahead and take this. Did you guys all get this?
Yeah.
Yep. So this is.
Anne got one printed.
Oh, thank you, Kelly, you printed it? Okay. So
I'll
this
see
is,
if I can keep opening.
Kelly gave you a copy, so, and Anne's gonna be the. For you to have it versus me. Good morning, Anne.
All right, good morning. Can you hear me?
You're pretty soft.
Let's see.
Okay.
We're gonna try to see if we can get your
Is
volume up.
it any better?
Let's
Okay.
see, just 1 second. Let's try this. Now try Anne.
Is it any better?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Good morning, Anne.
Good morning. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me. I apologize. I'm on the road this morning to Bismarck, so I will try to be as loud and clear as I can.
Well, you're coming in very good
but-
now.
Okay, good. So good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me on. My name is Anne Willette. I work with PFM Financial Advisors. We work as municipal advisors for local governments. And in North Dakota, I work with school districts, counties, cities, park districts, water resource districts. You name it, we've done work for them. So what we do is we help find the lowest cost financing for capital projects for local governments. So I have been working with Christy and Tanya now probably over 2 years, trying to figure out what is the best way to try to pay for the jail. And of course, now after the election, with the one question not passing, we kind of had to go back to the drawing board to see, is it even still possible to fund a jail through the sales tax and then the capital projects fund levy, which is of course an existing levy that the county is already levying. So that doesn't really count as a tax increase, but it is available, 10 mils is available to leverage against bonds to pay for debt service. So what we did is we looked at, okay, how much can, if we issue sales tax revenue bonds out 30 years, and then the capital projects fund levy, those bonds, it's a maximum of 20 years, so you can't leverage it past 20 years. But basically the question was, how much can we come up with, and can you actually build a jail for that price? So I reran the numbers based on current market rates, and I think everybody should note that as rates change, these amounts can change. They shouldn't change drastically unless there was a very, very big increase or decrease in interest rates, which we don't foresee. But so it's looking like if we just, if the infrastructure loan fund, so I guess I should back up. This legislative session, of course, the legislature did not add any funds into the infrastructure loan fund. But Kylie over at BND, who administers that fund, did tell me that she revolves about 20 million, excuse me, every year just from payments that come into that revolving fund. And so there is 20 million, or should be a 20 million available. And she opened up an application period, which I believe closes on Thursday or Friday. Maybe it was the 20th. Maybe that's Friday. And then I think she's also planning to open up for next year for the 20 million that will revolve in next year. She's planning to open that up. I think she said in December, but of course that's not set in stone. So, and I don't know, Tanya, did you send around the schedules, the estimated schedules that I sent to you?
I did, so that's what this is that I emailed to all of you late yesterday. But yes, they all should have that, and.
Okay, so what it's looking like, if the county were not able to get any low interest funds from BND, it's looking like we should be able to get right around 26.7 million, and that includes 5 million in cash that the county has set aside for the project. And so that would include about $8.4 million through the capital projects fund levy. So bonds issuing through that levy, and then the remainder would be issued against the sales tax. Now, Christy Quibell sent us 2024 numbers on the sales tax yesterday, so I used that number as an estimate for how much you might collect in sales tax. And then the CFP, which is the Community Facilities Program, it's run by the state, by the North Dakota Public Finance Authority. It's a program that the county can utilize, especially for the sales tax bonds. I think it would be important, where the state issues bonds on your behalf. And so you're able to go to the market, or the state goes to the market with their credit rating and issues bonds on your behalf. And I have talked to the PFA, and they said that they would be willing to issue the sales tax revenue bonds, but they do have a coverage requirement of 1.2 times the revenue. So, or excuse me, the annual debt service. So that means that your sales tax collections, the estimates, need to be at least 1.2 times the annual payments on the sales tax revenue bonds. So that's how we come up with this, with the 13.2 million for the sales tax revenue bonds. Is the annual debt service is right around 920,000 or so, and if we multiply that by 1.2, we get to 1.1 million, which is the amount of sales tax you should be collecting. Any questions so far?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, so then I decided that we should probably run a scenario to see how much does it increase if you were able to get, let's say, 5 million through the infrastructure loan fund. So what I told Tanya and Christy, that I do think, and I recommend that you would apply for a loan through the infrastructure loan fund. Of course, the maximum is 20 million. And so I would encourage the county to try to get as much as you can. Now, when I talked to BND, she would like to fund several projects partially. So that's why I just chose arbitrarily $5 million. What it looks like if you are able to leverage some of the sales tax through the infrastructure loan fund at 2%, how much more total funds would you be able to get? And I also encourage the county to apply again in December so that perhaps you could get more money for the next year. So just in this arbitrary situation where I chose $5 million, the total project funds would be just above 28 million. So you can see if you can leverage some of those low interest or some of those low interest loan funds. Obviously you're paying less in interest, so your sales tax goes a longer way with debt service. So the infrastructure loan fund for sales tax bonds also requires a 1.2 times coverage. As far as I know, it may be as low as 1.1, but to be conservative, I did 1.2 when I made these calculations. So the more money you're able to get through the infrastructure loan fund, obviously the more you would have for the project, because we can leverage that 0.75%, the 0.57 or 0.75% sales tax. Now, what many jurisdictions may do if some of the funding is uncertain in that, you know that you can fund at least 26 million, for example. So maybe you have a base case scenario, a base project that you can do regardless of whether or not you are able to get infrastructure loan funds, and then some alternates that could be added in if you are able to get more, meaning if you're able to leverage some of that 2% money through the infrastructure loan fund, then you could possibly add in some alternates. So that's kind of my recommendation is start with a base case project and proceed, if the commission decides to proceed, that is, you proceed with that base case. And then as we find out more from the infrastructure loan fund, then you can add in alternates if you are able to leverage some of those low interest dollars. Any other questions?
Yes, Paul.
I'm looking at these two sheets and I'm just a little confused. I'm looking at the yellow on each sheet. They're the same,
Yep.
They have the total of 13,282,000. And down below, one is 26 million point seven, the other one's 28.2. Is the difference in those two numbers the revolving loan interest savings?
Yeah, basically. So the yellow portion stays the same regardless, because we would be leveraging the 10 mils from the capital projects fund. So the part that changes, because you can go through the infrastructure loan fund up to 30 years with a sales tax, you may even be able to go longer, but I think in your information that you put out to voters, you said that you would only go out to 30 years. Typically, I think originally when we were planning this, excuse me, originally when we were planning this, we were planning to issue the sales tax portion in the open market, and we really don't like to issue bonds more than 30 years. And so that's kind of where the 30-year came from. The infrastructure loan fund is also, they're willing to do 30 years, which obviously allows you, excuse me, I'm sorry, which obviously allows you to leverage that 0.75% over 30 years. So, like I say, the yellow one stays the same regardless. The only thing that changes is that 920,000, which is allows for a 1.2 times coverage, is then split. The annual debt service is split then between an infrastructure loan and open market bonds. So that's kind of where you're getting the difference, is the interest savings on the sales tax portion that you're then able to leverage through the infrastructure loan fund.
Oh,
Did our sales tax get
Does that make
approved?
sense?
Yes, thank you. Was it a 30-year?
Yeah, it doesn't have a sunset.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no sunset, but I do remember, Tanya, maybe it was in the FAQs or something like that you put out, that you had mentioned 30 years on there. So I didn't want to, obviously, if the commission would like to, if the infrastructure loan fund would go out further than 30 years, they tend to not go further than useful life. But presumably a building, the useful life would be over 30 years. So I can definitely look into that if the commission would like to see something further than 30 years. I could double check with B&D and then run a scenario on that case as well. But I chose the 30 years just because that's what we were talking about initially.
Yeah.
I think we would definitely want to stick with that 30 years, and because that is what we presented to the public, was 30 years, so
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, that's what I figured.
Great
What's that?
explanation. You are a wealth of knowledge on this, so appreciate you presenting this to the commission today. Does anyone have any questions for Ann?
If I could, just real quick.
Yes.
So as I look at these numbers, what I'm gathering here is that with the 3/4 cent sales tax and the 10 mills, capital project mills that we're already levying, based on these projections, we could spend between 26 and the 28 million, depending on how this all falls together. Is that it in a nutshell?
Plus the 5 million that we.
No, 5 million's included.
That's
in that.
Including it, yeah.
It's included, and yes, that is correct, but I'll let Ann answer.
Does that include the 2 years of capital projects that we've already collected?
Yes, it did, Ann, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Christy probably would have to answer if that's in that $5 million of cash.
Yeah, that's factored in.
It's part of the 5 million?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, and when.
Yeah, so that number, the total project number can fluctuate based on whether or not you do get funds through the infrastructure loan fund, or if you get more than even what I'm projecting. So the aim would be, and I was telling Tanya this yesterday, if you decide to go ahead and you start the process and the construction, the aim would be we would issue the capital projects fund bonds first. So you have, $8 million up front to start paying, so that we could try to get as far into the project so that you can get through that second application period for the infrastructure loan fund, so that hopefully you would be able to get, if you don't get funds in this round this summer, then hopefully you would get some in the next round. Because I know that B&D is definitely aware of your project. I've talked to her about it many times. So I would hope that, she definitely is aware, and obviously with the jail legislation that did not pass, but she was aware of that as well. So she knows that how important this would be. So I would hope, obviously I can't say what B&D would do, and there are other applicants for the infrastructure loan fund, but she's definitely aware of your project.
Well, just one more question. So as far as process, do we have to have a project before we start moving forward with financing questions and applying for like the revolving loan fund? Do we need to approve a project first? Or, I mean, it seemed to me we would need a project first before we would start making application for.
Well, I think because the application deadline is this week, and I don't want you to miss out, I think it would not hurt to apply. If the commission decides, yes, we're going to pursue this base case scenario, we're going to pursue this project, I think it makes sense if you can turn around an application this period, because there is 20 million available, and even if you're able to get a small portion of that, it obviously helps you going forward. Now, you can, if the commission all of a sudden decided that actually we're going to wait, or we're not going to pursue the project, you can just tell B&D then at that point that no, we no longer need the loan, and I don't think there's any issue with that. And especially now that you see that there is a financing possibility, you know, so you're not, you know enough to know that, okay, we can at least afford 25, 26 million with what we have, even without infrastructure loan funds. Does
Thank
that
you.
make sense? Because
Yes.
what I just caution is missing this opportunity to get some of the funds in the bucket, and you can always cancel if something were to happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good questions, those
Any
are
other questions?
Tanya and I had as well, Paul. Yeah, any other questions, from the commission, or anyone, Kelly, Ron,
Not for me.
Christie? Okay.
No, I'll wait till next meeting
Okay.
when the project is.
Okay. All right, yeah, well, we sure appreciate you, Ann, joining us today, and you, gave us some very good information, explained it very well.
Good. Thanks for having me. You all have a good day.
You too, thank you, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So is she,
She is off now.
oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so. Yeah, after the jail vote, Tanya, I believe, had the first discussion with them. And we were very optimistic when we saw that, you know, she came up with these funds. She said, you know, this is not dead in water. If you choose to use those sales tax. If you choose to use the sales tax, this is how much money you guys will have to work with. I think at that time she said it'd be roughly around 25 million. Now we're looking at 26 million as our low point, hopefully higher. Hopefully we're up to that 28 point some million. If we can tap into some infrastructure loan funds. So it gives us a little bit of money to work with, a little bit more than we thought. You know, when we first looked at it, you look at just the sales tax and you're thinking, what is that? 12, 13 million? Well, that's not enough. But when we have 25 million, maybe we have a shot. So I appreciate you getting a hold of Ann to have her address it with the commission today, because I certainly couldn't explain all that.
She's definitely the expert.
She is.
So based on what she's saying, I was given the information for that. This revolving loan fund application process that's closes on Friday. I guess I feel like you as a commission need to decide if you wanna proceed with that. I can start the process. I know that I'm not the person to complete that application. It's gonna require a lot, some involvement from the auditor's office. Anne did say she would help with that when I spoke with her individually. She said she would help with that as much as possible. But it is an online application. She said the schools still have like a paper one, and she can pretty much do it all for them. But because it's online, you can just create an account, and you just log in, and it's of course gathering financial information is a lot of the piece of it, so that obviously falls into the auditor treasurer's office, but she would help us if you do wanna do that, like she said, so.
Do you know if we choose to apply, if the commission chooses to apply today, do we have to put in a certain dollar amount, or do we just apply and they determine?
So, it says right on this, I printed out the application this morning so I could reference it. The cumulative amount that they have available, like she said, is 20 million, so because of that, they are capping it at 5 per applicant per application round. So I'm glad she only put 5 in there, because that's all we can get per application round, and then if they do another round, like she said in December or whatever, we would potentially be able to apply for another 5 then, because it's different application rounds, so 5 is the max.
Do you know what the difference is in the interest rate?
It's so that the BND revolving loan is always at 2. So that middle column on the sheet, on the where there's 3 columns, that middle column is always gonna be at 2. The other one is just the open market, and so like she said, that fluctuates a lot, and I honestly I'm not even gonna try to guess what that's at right now. She did tell me once, but I think it
I
was.
should have.
Yeah.
That's the point, Paul, I heard 5%.
I wanted to say 5 to 6, but I can ask her if she, to give us an update, a current update, but.
And I'm sure that'll change, but.
That's what she kind of stressed, is that all of this, and she was, when we were she was crunching numbers, I know she at first went pretty conservatively, because we have to be confident in what the numbers are producing, so we. And the award date as well. These funding amounts, so the application window closes on June 20th, Friday, and it says on here that the funding amounts are awarded by July 11th. So then they would tell people if you've awarded anything, and you could choose to withdraw the application if you choose to not move forward and all that, so.
You know, based on the fact that it sounds like there's nothing hurt by us applying. It would be my recommendation that we get the application in. Denny?
Was kind of the recommendation of the jail committee too, to proceed with the application. And it's so time sensitive, but nothing ventured, nothing gained,
We just want to be prepared
right?
in case we do decide to proceed. We don't wanna miss out on this application period. You know, timing didn't work out great. It would have been better if we could have had the jail proposal
Yeah,
presented to the commission first, but that timing wasn't going to work out, so. Ernie? Oh, I thought you were like. I have a question.
I'm scratching my ear, Dean asked me, I'll make a motion, we move ahead with the application. Why not?
I will.
Second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take roll. Amy,
Yes.
Denny,
Yes.
Ernie,
Yes,
Paul,
yes.
myself, yes, motion carried.
I will, I think you guys probably, I think you probably got the same announcement, the auditors emailed in, but it's probably not been a priority for you, but I'll share that application information with you guys, and then I'll help in any way that I can, but I feel like a lot of it's gonna, be something that auditor's office will need to proceed with, so.
Okay, thank you so much, Tanya, and thank you for all your work on this.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you guys like a break
Yes.
before we move on? Okay. We'll adjourn. Okay, I'll call the meeting back to order, and up next we have Ed with our County Board of Equalization.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay.
Today is our resumption of County Board of Equalization. I had given everybody electronic copies of my report last week. I've got a paper copy today for everybody, as well as a few other handouts that we'll get to. Just wanted to remind everybody first off that the County Board of Equalization, their responsibility is to examine and compare the assessments returned by the assessors of all districts within the county, and shall proceed to equalize the same throughout the county between the several assessment districts. So that's the duties of the board. As we go through this report, please interrupt me, ask any questions, just get my attention, and I will stop and answer them best I can. So if we go to past the cover page, the first page is just to look at our sales ratio study from this past year, which direct us in what to do with our assessments for this year. This is just the Walsh County's numbers. It does not include the city of Grafton's numbers because they keep their own sales ratio study. And I highlighted the median ratios that are most important to us. For commercial and vacant lots, our median ratio came in right at 100%. So basically that's telling us when we compare our assessments from the previous year to their sales prices, on average, we're at 100%. On face, that looks good. However, that doesn't give us much wiggle room to do any increases to commercial properties if need be. Essentially because we can't be over 100%. We can be between 90 and 100. So for basically every dollar of market adjustments we did to commercial properties, we had to do a dollar decrease to offset that. Residential, we came in at 85.5%. So that means, meant we had to do, I believe about a 7% increase residential property in the county to get within tolerance of what the State Board of Equalization will allow this year. The next two pages are just, in there for the review of their average value per acre for the 2025 assessment. We've discussed and gone over this since January, I believe, but Walsh County came in at $1,047.51. Next page then is the total true and full valuation for the county over the last 25 years. I just keep adding to this chart. You see it has been steadily increasing from, I don't know, about 2006 to 2013 is when or 15 is when our ag land valuations were climbing steadily and aggressively. Since then, those have kind of leveled off, and it's been our residential property that's been increasing for the most part, and commercial in a couple of years, which we'll get into here. But from last year to this year's total assessments, this year we would be up $1.36 billion with the assessments before you for your approval today, an increase of just under $47 million for Walsh County, and that does include the city of Grafton values in there. The next page is our average value per acre for agricultural land. Again, you'll see from 2010 to 2014 is when they removed that artificial basement on the cap rate for ag land valuations. And that's when we saw them climb steadily there. And since then, they've kind of leveled off. We did have approximately a 5% increase 2 years ago. This year, we're actually down just a hair, and that's due to about 30 of our soil types. NRC has adjusted the PI numbers for them, and most of them actually went down a little bit. So that caused us our average value per acre to be down about $1.50. So at $986.32, comes in at 94% of what the state said we should be at. So we're kind of in that sweet spot right in the middle, I think, where we want to be. Next page is just to look at the total true and full valuation of ag land property in the county. 10 years ago, we were at 720 million. This year we are at 770. Next page is our residential true and full valuations over the last 10 years. This is where you'll see the biggest impact. With our office has tried to get better data on our properties. As well as the market increasing throughout the county has really forced our residential valuations to escalate, so. We have just about doubled since 2016 our total residential valuation. The next page is just to show you our last 10 years of our median sales ratio for residential property. So even with all the increases we're doing, we're still not keeping up with what the market is telling us. We do what we need to do to get to our tolerance or assessment level each year. And then we track our sales, and sales just keep exceeding our market values, even with all the increases we've been doing. And I think, talking with the city of Grafton, I think their 10-year history is probably around the same as well, for their median ratio. So, this past year, again, we came in at 85.5, which was better than the previous year, which was 82%. Then the next page is finally our commercial true and full valuation, total valuation for the county. We've climbed from 85 million to 139 million. We'll just note in 2018, you'll see about a $12 million increase from the previous years. That is mainly due, that's when Marvin Windows came onto the tax roll. Came off their payment in lieu of taxes. 2024 last year, we were up 16 million. The bulk of that was Walsh Rain coming out of the tax roll, coming off of their payment in lieu of taxes. This year, we're up 9 million. And that is mainly due to Remington Seed coming off of their exemption. And then some market adjustments that the city of Grafton did to their properties. The properties out in the townships, or outside of the city of Grafton, did not, they increased some, but not a lot, so. So then I put together a chart. I'm just showing a little line graph of our historical valuation. The blue top line is our total true and full valuation. You can see that has been steadily climbing. The green line is our Agnon valuations. Kind of showing a relatively straight line compared to some of the others. I will note that back in 2016, agricultural land made up 69% of our total valuation of our county. 2025, ag land now is at, it's just at 57% of our total valuation. Because our residential.
What was the first number?
69, used to be 69, close to 70% of our valuation was ag land, and now it's at about 57% of our valuation. The red line, that's where you'll see the residential valuation climbing, almost doubling. In 2016, residential values is made up 22% of the county's total valuation. Now this year we are at 33% of our valuation. And then the yellow line is the commercial valuation total. Again, relatively flat compared to the residential values. In 2016, commercial valuation was 8% of the total value for the county. 2025, we're at 10%. So, any questions on the graph or both lines? It's a lot of numbers to chew on, I know, but. So then I guess after that, we'll get into our townships and cities one by one. Try to go through these. Ag land, I won't really touch much on any of them because they're relatively unchanged. So we'll just start with Walshville Township. Residential assessments are up 8.88%, mainly due to market adjustments. Total township will be up 0.76%. Pulaski Township residential is up 9.71% this year. And that included one property that came off of a farm residence exemption that's now taxable. And also one property that is now exempt, that used to be taxable, was purchased by the Giano home in Warsaw. So it's now exempt from taxation. Acton Township, residential valuation will be at 9.42%. And that did include one house that was destroyed by a fire in the past year. Would reduce that value. St. Andrews Township, residential up 4.05%. That included one property that is now on a farm residence exemption that used to be taxable. Commercial shows a 63% increase. It's mainly just a couple minor land equalization changes, so the percentage looks big, but overall value is very minimal. Hardock Township, residential valuation will be up a little over 7%. That included one property coming off a farm residence exemption. I believe there was just a property that didn't turn in an application to my office. Harrison Township, up the residential valuation of 19.9%. Market changes as well as one large house addition, adding significant amount of value there. So the commercial decrease of 14%, I believe, was a couple garages that were demolished. Oakwood Township, residential valuation up 10.57%. A minor increase in the commercial valuation. That did include one property that is off a farm residence exemption. It is now taxable. Martin Township residential valuation would be up 8.77%. That included one property that is now on the farm residence exemption, and also one property that went through a significant exterior remodel. Forest River Township, their residential valuation is up 15, a little over, almost 15.5%. That included one property that came off of a farm residence exemption and is now taxable. Wolf Center Township, residential valuation up 11.37%, mainly due to market adjustments, I believe. Grafton Township, this is one of the townships that our office does the contract assessment for. This was the first year we've done it. So we took a hard, close look at that township. Residential valuation up just under 10%. Again, find one new house that's been there for several years that was never added to the tax roll by a previous assessor. There were some existing fuel storage tanks on a commercial property that we added that have been there for some time. Those are now added on taxable property. There was one house moved in from Farmington Township that was added to the tax roll, and then one major house remodel. Farmington Township, the residential valuation is up just under 11.5%. There was one new shop in that township on a residential property added to the tax roll, and then the commercial valuation was up $270,000. There were two new commercial grain bins put up at Nash Grain again this year, last year. Pops Township, up 29.56. That's mainly due to a higher end new home being completed. It was partially completed for last year's assessment, now it's 100%. Prairie Center Township, the residential valuation is actually down 4.45%, and that is because there was a fairly new, higher end, higher valued home that is now on a farm residence exemption for the first time. New shed was added to a residential property, and then there was one commercial shed demolished. That's why their commercial valuation is down a little bit. Pearl Township, residential valuation up 6.2%. There's a new house that has started construction out there that's 34% complete. And then they also had one property that is just run on farm residence exemption for the first time. Glenwood Township, residential property increased 11.43%. Mainly due to market adjustments, as well as one property is putting on a significant garage addition. Eden Township, residential property up 9.63%. Commercial property is down. I changed one property from a commercial valuation to an ag land valuation. Crusher Township, residential property up 9.18%. Kensington Township, residential property up 9.57%. Commercial up 84,000 or 18%. The airport hangar that Park River Airport Authority has out there is taxable, so that was added. And then there was one office addition to another lease site on the airport ground. Dundee Township, residential property up 10.77%. They did have one property go on the farm residence exemption this year. Medford Township, that's another township that contracted through our office for the first time. So we took a close look at that and discovered that a lot of their residential property was undervalued, so you'll see they're up 20.62%. They did have one parcel come off of a farm residence exemption. And commercial property up 22.35%, and that's mainly due to the 8% increase in gravel pit active and stockpile acres. Vernon Township as well, first year they contracted through my office. Their residential property, was severely undervalued compared to other townships, so I'm working with them to get their valuations over a couple of years. This year, their total valuation was up 32%. They had one property, the new garage added to it. And their commercial valuation up 16%, and that's, again, the 8% increase for the gravel pits. Golden Township, residential property up 8.64%. They actually had one house demolished. Since the last assessment, they had one house moved in. We have one property that's coming off the farm residence exemption. I believe that is one that did not turn an application into our office. Lambton Township residential valuation would be up 10.51%. There was a mobile home that is on piers, so it is now, I'm valuing it as real estate now instead of a mobile home. And then their commercial valuations are up 5.59%. Again, that's the third township that has the gravel pits. Cleveland Township, their local assessor didn't do any changes to their residential property. I reviewed them briefly. We have done some increases at county board a couple of years ago. I'm gonna have to have some discussions with them for next year to take a hard look at those. They haven't done much since the county board increased them a couple of years ago.
Seems concerning when you see a 0%.
Yeah,
It's very concerning.
it is. Yeah. It sticks out compared to the rest.
Right, so do you discuss this with the township officers or the
Well, I
assessor?
start with a local assessor, and then, yeah, that'll be cooperation with them. The one caveat is that I don't know if this local assessor will keep doing it with the new assessment and notice requirements that I'll discuss later. So.
But they are aware that they could hire our office
Yes.
to do it,
Yeah,
okay.
that out to every township, yeah.
Okay.
They used to have one facility, a seed cleaning facility. That had a commercial valuation and those structures have been removed, so that's why you see their commercial valuation introduced to 0. Norton Township, their residential valuation on 27%, a lot of that was due to 2 properties coming off of farm residence exemption. Again, I believe it's just individuals who didn't bring applications into me. Vesta Township, residential property up 12.37%, those were just market value increases. Tiger Township, market value increase of residential, 7.4% increase. Perth Township, up 369,000, 83% increase. And that's due to 5 residential properties that didn't turn in their farm residence exemptions. So they're all out of the tax roll for now. And I think I've gotten calls from 2 of them so far that we're gonna meet with me at some point and get their stuff in me. So it just makes a lot of added work to have these properties and then taken back off and go through the abatement process, but I can't make them turn their stuff in, so. Latona Township, again, up 88%, $297,000, again, 4 more individuals who did not turn in. One truly is no longer exempt, confirmed, the other 3 just haven't turned in applications.
So I have a question, so by them not turning in applications to you, Will they have a year where they'll have to pay taxes, or can they always go back that 2
We
years?
can go back, they have 2 more years, they can go back 2 years on abatements.
So essentially, all this does is cause you a lot of extra work.
Correct.
Well, that's sad, there should be some type of penalty. Or fee,
Well, plus lost tax revenue.
right?
Well, it's,
They, but if they turn in the paperwork, they would pay the taxes.
Yeah, it's
That's all they
not-
have to do is turn in
yeah,
the
it's not like
paperwork.
the taxes we were getting before, however, it's gonna be factored into our budget this year. Cause it's gonna be included in our taxable valuation, so
And then most likely they'll turn in the paperwork and they'll just be taken back.
odds are yes.
It has to be frustrating for you.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Will you have an approximate number though, Ed, for like an idea of whether you've gotten communication with them when it does come budget time of this is about the amount that we.
I can tell you that, yes, but I don't know how we would factor that in, but yes, I can, yeah. Sure. Adams Township, residential property on 14.1%, one property with a significant exterior remodel. Sylvester Township, up 4.36%, there's not a lot of actual properties once we get that far west. Sauter Town and not as much of a demand for housing up in western, I say 8 townships basically. Sauter Township up 11% on residential, they did have one residential property that put up a new shed that had some value to it. Shutter Township up little over 11% due to market adjustments. Dewey Township up $285,000 in valuation, 110%. 3 more individuals who didn't turn in farm resident exemptions. And then the final township, Kinloss, this is the last township that contracted through our office for the first time this year. Up 20.29%, including one property that came off of a farm residence exemption. And I believe that is one that didn't turn in an application as well. I believe there were 10 to 15 properties that are being added to the tax roll off the exemptions, farm residence exemptions. That would potentially be coming off at some point over the next couple of years. And I've been giving him 2 years to send out the notices one winter. I give him a grace year. And then I send him a second time and if he still won't get on, then I add him, so. Yeah, so her concept. Now we turn our attention to the cities in the county, Grafton City, which of course has their own sales ratio. And they do their own assessments, residential property, up a little over 11%. Commercial property over 14%. The one big thing I noted was the Remington Seed putting off their expanding business exemption. So total, they'd be up almost 12% on $6 million for the city of Grafton alone. Park River, their residential property up 1.94%. When we looked at their sales ratio, they did some large increases last year to their residential property, and their sales ratio was actually pretty good, 2024. So, their little can just did about a 2% increase on their residential property. Commercial 3% increase, so overall Park River would be up 2.31%, a little over $2 million probably. City of Minto, they contract through our office, we continue to work, there's a strong demand for housing in Minto. So they're up 13.4%, a little bit of new construction there in Minto. Commercial relatively flat, so overall Minto would be up 11.7%, $3.38 million. Ardoc City, not a lot left there, that's taxable or with a whole lot of valuation, but residential up 5.31% in Ardoc. Forest River City up 4.56% on the residential. Conway City, there's not a lot of demand for housing in Conway right now. There was a 0% increase for those properties that don't necessarily have a problem with Conway City. She's done a good job, I think, keeping up with what is there, so. Hoople, city of Hoople, strong demand for housing there again. Past year, they're up 13.9%. Residential side, no change for their commercial properties. City of Peasic, this is the first year they've contracted through our office, so we did a thorough review of Peasic. Residential up just under 5%. Commercial up over a little over 15%. That's mainly due to vacant lots being changed from residential classification to commercial, which they're supposed to be. So just kind of some cleaning up on that part. So total Peasic City would be up 6.82%. City of Edinburgh, again, same boat as Park River. They did some large residential increases the past year, so their sales ratio was pretty good past year. So the residential property is only up 0.8%. So very small changes for Edinburgh. City of Fortville, pretty good demand for housing there again this past year. The residential property up a little over 10%. City of Lincoln, not quite as good a demand for housing, but they did have Perry Novak's residential property was completed. And that's on their full valuation now, so up just under 9% for the city of Lincoln. City of Adams, up 9% on the residential valuation. And City of Fairdale, same boat, 9.5% increase in their residential valuation. So page 60 shows the overall assessments then for the county. Agricultural will be down, just that little bit. The PI is going down. Residential will be up 38.8 million, 9.5%. Commercial up 9.8 million, 7.58%. For a total increase of just under $47 million, roughly 3.57% in true and full valuation. Next two pages would be then our what's called our ratio adjustment worksheet. The first one is page 61 is Wall counties. And this is what the State Board of Equalization will look at to determine whether our assessments are within tolerance. The yellow highlighted numbers at the bottom need to be in the past at least needed to be between 0 and 10% to be within tolerance. So see our commercial valuations are on the high end, they're barely within tolerance on the high end. Residential property, I'd say are barely within tolerance on the low end. So even with all the increases we did, we're still barely within tolerance for residential property. But we are. So then page 62 is the city of Grafton's ratio adjustment worksheet. See their rates right where they need to be as well for their assessments. So I guess before I get into some of the couple other items I want to discuss, answer any questions or concerns you may have, or eventually, I guess we need a motion to approve the assessment roll as presented, or with any changes that you guys feel are necessary.
Any questions?
I would make a motion to approve as presented.
Yes. Do we need to hold up? Yeah,
Yeah.
just sorry, just 1 second, Paul.
I would just, as the city assessor, I'd like to be recused from the city of Grafton vote, so I'd like to separate the city of Grafton in a separate vote. And then I won't vote on it.
So now I'll go ahead and take your motion without the city of Grafton.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve without the city of Grafton.
You have a motion to approve the assessments as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Why are we excluding Grafton?
Because I'm the assessor and I don't want to vote on it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you're saying that we should do a second motion for the city of Grafton, or
Well. Yeah, there should be two motions. You.
Right, we're
Excluded the city, right?
Yep.
correct.
And that was, I had a conversation with Kelly, that was what she suggested we do.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table. To approve the assessments as presented excluding the city of Grafton. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take roll. Paul,
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
Danny?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carried. All right, now we'll move on to the city of Grafton. Do I have a Motion to approve the assessments as presented on the city of Grafton, and we will recuse Ron from this one.
No, that's fine.
Paul. Jeez. Yeah, I'm not gonna recuse too, Ron.
there's no excuse for you. I'll make a motion,
He's like-
please. We go forward with the assessment of Grafton.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take roll. Amy,
Yes.
Denny,
Yes.
Ernie,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion carried. Ron, you're excluded. Yeah. Yeah. Checking. Yeah. All right, thank you, Ed. And you have some other items? you
Yeah,
want to
so
discuss?
just thought I'd give you a quick update on, obviously, there were a lot of property tax conversations throughout the legislative session and things that were approved or didn't get approved. I think everybody has heard the primary residence credit is going up to $1,600 per resident starting in 2025. Couple of things I just wanted to note was, instead of the notices of increase that we've been required to send in the past, if a property was increased 10% or more and at least $3,000, starting 2026, we have to send a notice. The assessor, whether it's our office or the local assessor, has to send a notice to every single parcel owner in the county of what their assessment is each year, whether it goes up, down, or stays the same. So will be part of my budget presentation this summer is the postage for that and cost to do that, obviously. I'm working on talking with Forum Communications about outsourcing that, just like we have in tax bills. But that's gonna be an added expense for the county.
What was the reason for that?
They just feel that property owners have a right to know what their assessment is every year.
And there's no way they can just check that online?
Their new assessments at this point aren't necessarily available online until they're approved. I mean, we could do that. But
I mean, to me, that would be the perfect way of getting around this. So Paul, you had a question?
I just wanted, so local assessors are in charge of sending out the,
it's not necessarily spelled out in the bill. It just says an assessor. So my initial thoughts is that they wanna contract with another assessor outside of the county. And it should be the local assessor that sends out those notices. That's my thought.
I'm sure, I mean, this is probably not looked at as something they want to do at this point, but I just think with the technology times that we're in, if we have a way with data to choose, I mean, when I think of email, like, I understand that, but if they check a box that, okay, to receive communication and email, just with the cost of postage and what it would at least, it'd still work, but it would be something where you would have an email that you could at least cut down. I'd like to see that become the standard when it comes to things like this
I believe email is an option. How we get those email addresses and maintain them is a whole other thing, because email addresses now are just like cell phones. People's email addresses change every 6 months. For a lot of people,
Yeah.
it's really tough.
Yeah.
But yes, you're correct, that would be a great option.
Oh,
I think your idea of a website makes a lot more sense, because we could put the values out there, the proposed values out there anytime, and everybody would have the ability to go out and see it. And the reality is, just historically, you send out 600 notices of increase and you might get 5 phone calls. So I don't anticipate sending out, 2,300 for the city of Grafton anyway. It's not gonna change much. And I mean, the biggest question you're gonna have is, why am I getting one?
mhm.
That's gonna be the biggest question. So it's just gonna create a lot of phone calls for people trying to understand what this is and why am I getting it, I've never seen this before.
A lot of busy work. Yeah, and confusion. Well, if there's any way we can propose, posting these on I know not this year, but in the future, if the legislature would be willing to entertain that idea, I mean, as long as people have access, why do we have to mail them a notice? Why can't they just have access to, say, a website and go in and look at it?
And I like the idea of, on that note, if it's consistent, so maybe there is a year or two you have to send out, but if it's the same thing, like, here's where you go to be able to see the 5 or the how many people who actually care, if they know that's where it is, and that's not gonna change, the numbers will change, but this is the site you look at, it would be great if that was approved as a way of notice.
Well, I'm assuming our association will have conversations with the legislature, association of counties. But we're at the mercy of our legislators, when it comes to that, so.
They are expecting to make changes to House Bill 1176, when they passed it, they knew there was things in there that weren't gonna work. I think this is one of them,
Mhm.
but I'm curious about the local assessor thing, because is the county gonna send out the city of Grafton notices, or? I mean, it doesn't really matter, but,
At this point, that is not our office's plan.
and that's fine, if we're not doing local assessor stuff, I'm perfectly fine with that, but I think we need to be consistent.
I don't believe this is the first time this notice has been introduced in the legislature. But it seemed to go through this time with no questions asked, it was to me really odd.
Mhm. Which is going to cost a lot of money when you look at all the counties in the state now that are having to do this.
Foreign Communications is gonna love it.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, anything else?
Yeah, then the second other requirement that just learned about this a week ago was the primary residence credit notices we have to send out too. We have to inform everybody starting in 2026 whether they are approved or denied the primary residence credit. Or that's another mailing that we'll have to budget for.
So you didn't have to do that before with the $500, but now that it's 1,600, now we do.
It's in the bill this time.
That was in 1176 too.
Yep, and the Association of Counties didn't even seem to know about it, and he discussed it the other day, so. Yeah.
So there's another expense.
Yeah.
Major expense.
Better be careful, you're gonna take her 3% tax.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, you look at all these mailings and they're going out and everything, and they're requiring us to do it and everything else, but I think I'll vote by mail. We sent them out and how many really returned and voted? Or turnout, and I said, how many people really are gonna look at some of the stuff? Like, yep, we gotta send it out. You think 50% of the people are even gonna look at it?
Questionable.
Yep. Unbelievable.
All right, any other questions on those requirements? If not, the last thing I wanted to touch on was, just an update on our office. Obviously, in the last 5-6 years, we've worked hard at getting some minimal data on our properties, residential and commercial, because before I started as tax director, there were a lot of property cards that were completely blank. Tried to get the handle on our foreign residence exemptions, exempt property as a whole, what should be taxable. Finding things that hadn't been out of the tax roll, like we did with Grafton Township this year. So, and I think we've done a good job of that. And now we're at the point where, I think we need to start considering a full residential and commercial reassessment for the county. And the reason I say that is I gave a couple handouts today of our sale ratio numbers, statistics. So we'll go through them quick, and it's statistics, they're not gonna mean a lot, because just on the surface, but I put a printout, there's Walsh County and then one for the city of Grafton. And on this page is the one I'm looking at, the front side of that little line graph. This is where our statistics are. So if you compare Walsh County to the city of Grafton, and I'm just doing that because they are in our same camera vision system. Or if you look at our median ratio, they're about the same. So our assessment levels are about the same, 85%. But when we look below that, to what's called the coefficient of dispersion and a price related differential, that will tell us to dig a little deeper on what our equity is. And so coefficient of dispersion is just a statistics that measures the equity of current assessments. And IAAO, which is our standard organization, recommends a COD of less than 20. Walsh County's this past year was at 57.28. The city of Grafton was at 23.37, still a little high, but in my opinion. Heads and tails better than the county as a whole, and I attribute that to them having better data on their homes, doing physical inspections. When they can, and doing reassessments. And then the other one is called the price related differential. And this measures the equity between high value properties as compared to low value properties. IAAO recommends a PRD of 0.98 to 1.03. And a high PRD indicates a significant bias with lower value properties being overvalued as compared to higher end properties. So again, the equity side of it, and the county as a whole, excluding Grafton, was at 1.37, so nowhere close to that range. City of Grafton was at 1.09. So those numbers just stick out to me, and I think it's the next natural progression for our office to get, is to do a complete reassessment, so. I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm gonna be coming at budget time with some numbers on possible ways we can accomplish that or start working towards that. But these are the numbers that our office looks at, and I think we're really lacking on our equity. Our assessment level, we can keep up with best we can, but our equity is really imbalanced, I believe, so. Entertain any questions or concerns on that?
I would just comment, this is something I've done for 25 years, and the city of Grafton that he's comparing to, I'm not particularly proud of these numbers, there's room for improvement. But they're better than what they were 2 years ago. I think equity is one of the most important things that we do as assessors. We try to create equity, and if you don't have equity, you don't have anything. You don't have to be right on top of the value. As a matter of fact, I specifically tell people when I go up to their house and do an inspection, you don't want to use my value to sell your home because I'm likely going to be low. We calibrate our values to the local market, and I'm not trying to be right on top of them. I'm really most concerned with equity. I want fair, equitable, market-based values, and you can't do that unless you have data. The more data you have, the better. I've done inspections for a couple of years. Probably get into about 40% of the homes. So, you're only getting into 40% of those that you're requesting, so your numbers are never gonna be perfect. You're always gonna have those outliers. But you do what you do what you can. The reality is the basis for the values, we have no basis for the values that we have in a lot of these residential properties in the county. That's the reality. It's so old, or it is no basis, and that's what this CAMA vision will do for us. It will create a basis. And everybody will have the same basis, and so it's to me, it's a critical thing to create equity. So I would be interested in what you come up with, but the numbers, the difference in the numbers is you can see that the city of Grafton has data and has been implementing the software that the county purchased, and the city has invested in an assessor and has been leveraging that to create equity. And that's our goal, is equity. The other thing I'd like to say about, like the commercial assessments are 100%, and that looks good on paper, but the reality is like Ed said, when you're at 100%, in a place like Walsh County, you need 30 sales to do a sales ratio study, and likely you have to go back 3 years. You can go back up to 3 years to get that number of sales. Then what happens is a property sells and it gets moved to the sale price, and they all get moved to the sale price, and I'm probably oversimplifying this. But then after 3 years, your ratio is 100% because you're comparing your value to that 3-year-old sale. So that's great for the ones that sell. But what about those that don't sell? They're not moving at all because you're at 100%, you have no room to move. So there's no equity in that at all. And that's a concern of mine as well. So another day, a conversation for another day, but I'm glad you were talking about this because it's a long time coming.
Just to simplify it maybe a little bit, just for myself, So to get this equity, basically what we wanna know then is what's inside the house. Like, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, or is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, I mean-
Finishes, that type of thing?
Yeah, you're basically looking for the square footage, how old is it, this condition?
Mhm.
Is it a 1 story, a bi-level, a 2 story? Well, what kind of outbuildings are there, basement finish?
Okay.
You're just looking for the basic data. The reality is, you know, according to the guidelines of the tax commissioner's office, we're supposed to have all that information. And on a lot of properties, we don't.
Mhm.
And that's a real problem. And there, you can't have equity when you don't have data. It just can't be done.
Okay,
I mentioned IAAO, and I believe in the screen sheet, it says that they recommend that. Properties get a physical inspection at least once every 10 years.
Yeah, so it's gonna say.
I don't believe Wolf County has ever done full scale. Inspection of properties, so
I can just envision how this is gonna go over.
it's a tough concept, yeah, especially when it's never been done before.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. And you send out a letter or stop and knock on the door, and nobody has to let you in, but if they don't, then you make assumptions.
Yeah, we've had a couple of cases where people haven't, but
Yes,
I remember that.
yeah. We can-
well, we'll look forward to seeing those numbers.
Assume high, and if they don't agree with you, they gotta let you in or else take it, right?
That goes into it,
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's up there on that bench.
Yeah,
We appreciate you.
all right, Stacy, good morning. I'm sorry, we are running behind.
That's okay. And
But
unfortunately for you guys, you like the 70 fire hose. Sorry about that.
morning, Stacy, you were bringing us an update, your annual report?
Yep, and I dropped off the relocation guide too, that should be dropped off yesterday, so they should both be at your table there. So we're gonna start with the JD annual report. Let's cheat and skip to page 5, I think it's down page 5, which talks about Real Good, which will lead us into the other publication. So just wanted to come and provide some background information on a couple of things related to this. So Real Good, I know I've come and talked to you guys about it before, but basically it's the first ever rural initiative to market our region, the rural counties of Walsh, Pembina, and Nelson. And the reason it came to fruition is because our employers were asking for it. They have candidates they're trying to hire, they're not familiar with the area, they wanna know what's it like to live here, what's their schools like, what's healthcare like. So this initiative was born from that, and you'll notice it doesn't include Grand Forks County, which is in our region, but that's because Grand Forks County is like 5 to 7 years ahead of us, and they have their own brand already and have had it for some time. So the initiative includes a marketing plan, which really has now become the campaign, the brand, a fantastic website, social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and then workshops and resources for employers. So basically tools for the toolboxes for the employers, to help about learn these programs. Chrissy Casbrick, the regional council, she's full-time staff in this initiative. So through research, a lot of data collection, those 5 personas are called, in the middle of that page, show who the types of people that we're trying to attract. These are people that would fit skill sets that we need with our employers, and would likely have some success with that. The JDA's role with this project, we provided grant match in their 2024 and 2025 budget to help secure grant funds to start this. And then obviously continue into where we're at now. I also serve on the advisory committee for this, as do several other, I'm not an employer, but other Walsh County employers as well. So with that, let's talk a little bit about the relocation guide, because this is new, this just came out in the last month. And basically it's a condensed version of the website. Again, if you haven't looked at the website, I highly recommend you do. This relocation guide is being distributed to businesses and employers throughout the county, well, throughout the region, really. I left some here in Britannia too to use for you guys. So it's basically, like I said, a condensed version of the website, things you can learn. We're trying to put it at gas stations, laundromats, parks, grocery stores, then also for visitors as well. And so
a little bit about that, I guess, take a look at that as you have time, but I wanted to mention too that Real Good is not just about like the attraction side, it's also become a way for employers to get linked to resources. Christie's been organizing these lunch and learns. Last month, she had one with state staff from the Office of Legal Immigration come and talk with employers, it was virtual, about programs that are available to our employers to help with recruitment from other areas of the country. And I can share that just last week, we have helped a family relocate through these resources that the state has, a family relocate from the East Coast to Walsh County, and they're working at one of our manufacturers. So there's a lot of legal immigrants that come in, they end up on the East Coast, they can't afford to live there, they wanna move somewhere more rural, and we already had one as of last week, so. Her lunch and learn next week for June is about some job service programs. Specifically the Skill Bridge program, which links transitioning military with skill sets that they have in the military into the private sector. And Samson Electric is gonna be one of the featured presenters because they've used that program like 6 or 7 times. With transitioning military to into their office, into their workplace, so. Other real good stuff, there are 2 billboards going up. As you enter our region, one on I-29 and one on Highway 2, if they're not already up. For marketing purposes, there's been paid marketing specifically targeting manufacturing and healthcare in Wisconsin, Iowa, and South Dakota. Christie has resurrected the Northeast Manufacturing Group, which is made up of 20 manufacturers, small and large, in Walsh and Cumberland counties. She's helping share information to employers, incentives, programs, like relocation programs, childcare programs that employers may not be aware of. And then most recently, last week, there were several video shoots done in Walsh County for all of this marketing materials, and Amy was one of the people as an entrepreneur who was featured in those videos, so they should be rolling out here soon in the next few weeks, and keep an eye out for those. So any questions on any of that information?
I just wanted to add not only that, Stacy, I have a rental space next to my clinic. And I have a room that's kind of specifically meant to try to attract like a hairstylist, so the room is set up. Kirsty has its lowest, it's called, and it is essentially real estate that goes into that, but even a rental suite. That she is advertising this room for me, so another way to get. She's brilliant when it comes to some of this, and the sky is so the limit on what she can help with, do and get the word out, because some of it is just you need wider nets, right, cast to see the potential out there. So she's doing an amazing job.
So
Great.
yeah, we can move back to the end report then. I think you guys should have gotten one in the mail last week. Did you? Okay, so we'll start the quiz now. See who looked at it now. So I want to go through it quickly with you, obviously. Page 2 is about, you know, who's on the board. So as of 2024, there's a notation as far as who is joining the board now in 2025, obviously that was approved by this board. Some information there about the vision and mission exercising or planning that the JDA did back last October with assistance from Katie at Extension Office. Page 3, I'm gonna skip down to the bottom first and talk about the SEDS. I know Don was here recently and talked a little bit about that. Sure about what that is, but it really helps create the roadmap to identifying the issues and possible solutions. And because there's so many voices involved in that to help with removing barriers for growth in our county. Those stats on the right, I think are kind of interesting. I want to highlight those. You know, if you look at that from 1990 to 2020, North Dakota's population increased about the same rate as Walsh County decreased, which is interesting. But we also know that people haven't moved very far. They're moving to other counties in North Dakota. So we need to get them and get them back and more. And that last information there about 45% of people know someone who would move to the area for housing available is also telling as well. Because as we know, the less people we have, to carry the property tax burden, the less people we have to generate sales tax. So we have employers, 90% of our employers want to grow, and we need people to help do that. The top of that page shows the JDA support for businesses through the Bank of North Dakota's FlexPace program, which buys down interest rate for new and expanding businesses. so these are businesses that the JDA supported in that. And I wanna mention that the deferred loan amount in that column there, that's just the JDA's portion, so if you look at those numbers. Some of those projects that also have partners with the city of Park River or the city of Grafton or both. There's significant investments in our county. In fact, that bar at the bottom of that chart shows that the JDA investments of a little under $50,000 has supported business development of over $3 million just in 1 year in our county, so. Moving on to page 4, this is, basically programming and support the JDA has provided for our low hanging fruit, which is our youth who are already here. These are entrepreneur and work-based learning opportunities. To help address workforce shortages, now, but also help with foster growth. So this includes Marketplace for Kids, Manufacturing Day, which is for Walsh and Pembina counties, and I was gonna note that this picture on the front cover was taken at Kringstead Iron Works last fall. They actually let kids who wanted to try welding, so it was kind of neat to see. Obviously, then a lot of it, there's programming through North Valley, including the summer internship program. I did include some stats there about, you know, the impacts of just what that program has brought to our region, to Walsh County. You know, last summer there were 45 students in that participated, and there were over 7,000 hours worked, and that was just their internship hours. They don't track it after that. And they earn over $114,000, and anybody with teenagers know that they spend that money too, so. Probably a lot of that came right back to Walsh County. And the JDA support isn't just financial in these programs, it is also helping connect employers to them, providing expertise and other assistance. The bottom of page 4 is about the Career Builders program, which provides matching funds to our Walsh County employers who are looking to leverage this program for student loan repayment or scholarships to fill jobs that we have open. They can either be new employees or new to a position within the past 24 months to be eligible. That chart shows you where a lot of our employers are using this program, obviously a lot of healthcare and education. This continues to be a very successful program. Walsh County ranks 4th in state as far as job placements. This is only a 2-year-old program. And it's only behind our urban counties of Burley, Cass, and Grand Forks. So, as JDA staff, Lori and I manage the program. I also serve on the board, as does Christy right now too. Page 5, we already talked about. Page 6 and 7 relate to probably our 2 biggest barriers identified by our employers, housing and childcare. Page 6 talks about specifically about housing. So the JDA was among several funding partners that helped with the rural housing study, which was completed in 2024, and that was led by the Choto. That study revealed that Walsh County alone needs almost 1,200 housing units by 2030, which is less than 5 years away, to meet our current workforce demands. But there's also a lot of opportunities identified in that study, which is really what sort of has laid the groundwork for the work that Choto was doing, which includes a Spark Build program. I know you've all heard about that before, which is at the bottom of the that page talks a little bit about that. It's basically creating single family housing units in our small towns, showing that how to leverage the state funds to do it, because there is a demand for it. And those photos there are from the projects in Lakota and Larimore. There was 4 homes total. They were all purchased before they were completed, because we have that housing demand. We do have 4 Walsh County cities who raised their hand and said, okay, Choto, we want help, we want to be in next, and so we are working with them, and helping Lisa as I can, so that I'm here. Park River is one of those, and if they haven't broken ground on theirs, they hadn't as of last week, they probably will very, very soon. And there's 3 other cities as well that are interested in doing that. So, page 7 is about the Walsh County Child Care Center project, which, as you know, was led by the JDA. I've been here before to talk about that too. The initial provider who's operating from the center began operating from there in February. She was licensed for 65 slots, so it preserved her 30 slots, plus it added an additional 35. She has around 52 children enrolled at this point, which includes a school age program for 10 that was billed right away. for the summer. She's gonna continue to add staff. Add families of staff for hired and trained. She's at about 17, I think, staff so far. However, she is expecting herself, so she's gonna need to take a little pause on that, so she can, be a mom and then, when she's back and able to be present, we'll continue to add families as she can, so. Most of the work on the building is complete, we're working on with contractors to finish up the punch list items. Probably the most notable one, the most noticeable one is the painting on the exterior on the east side if you've driven by, that has not been done yet, but hopefully very soon. Once all the work is done, the JDA will transfer ownership of the building to Chola, which will act as a landlord, just as the JDA has, charging an affordable rent to the provider who's renting the space. On the funding side, the total cost to renovate a 5,000 square foot building in a child care center is 1.37 million. Pretty much nobody thought that that's where we were gonna end up, but that is a reality situation, largely because of childcare regulations. We have learned a lot, childcare is overregulated, that's my opinion. But there's been a lot of things that have contributed to that. However, you know, the gap in this project at one time was around $340,000, or what we were short. Then the city of Grafton offered a $300,000 line of credit, basically a loan so the project could move forward. And then last fall offered 100,000 of that to be cash towards the project if we could secure the remaining gap, which basically put the gap at 240,000. We're at about 55,000 now, so we've secured enough money to get it down to that. It's been a heavy lift, but we're getting there. We've had a significant support from the private sector. One-time donations up to 5-year commitments. We have 96% of that money, 1.37 million secure. And that includes $715,000 in grants. There's 25 sources of money in this project, which is a lot, even for somebody like me who does this all the time. And we have 17 employers, like locally and statewide organizations who have, you know, stepped up and said, yeah, we wanna help. It's kind of noted in that box on page 7 about the power of partnerships. You know, the state has invested significantly, it's $550,000 in this project. The state has been very interested in this project to see if this sort of out of the box business model is the model that might work for childcare in rural areas, because everyone's trying to figure out how to do this. So that's great, and we've had really great conversations with them, but the main part is we need this building to be debt free. In order for this project to be successful, it needs to be no debt, because no one has the capacity to borrow funds to complete it, so. I wanna also say that, the end of April, we had the open house, which was very well attended. We had state partners there and, a lot of people came out. It was really great. I know many of you didn't attend or weren't able to attend, so I'd like to send a personal invitation if you would like to see it. I can work something out with the provider. I've been giving tours to other people as well. So if you would like to see it, I can show you how the county's invested money in this project. I'd be happy to. So I also want to publicly thank Dennis Markison, as a board member. He's been helping with this project and devoted a lot of time to it, and I couldn't have done it without him. So he's been very important part of this. So and with, you know, talking about the funding part too, I want to mention, you know, I've been here before and talked with you fine folks about this project, and I guess I'm not saying the door's closed for me coming back and talking to you again. We're, you know, $55,000 remains to get it done. We have some conversations with employers. I do think we have some more money coming. Not 100% sure we're gonna get all the way there, but I'm confident we'll get there, and maybe you guys can be part of that conversation again going forward. So I also wanted to mention that while this project received, you know, technically received funding from the county, there are also other projects, because we've learned so much, that I've been able to help with other projects in the county. The provider who's renting this space has been an excellent mentor to other childcare providers. That is a whole expertise area that someone who's in it is the best resource. And so while this is, like, again, while this project's received the financial support, we have been supporting other projects in the county as well. So, but it isn't lost on me that the more we create housing units, the more childcare They're just totally connected, so I don't foresee this problem going away anytime soon. So, and the last thing on page 8 is basically the goals, that the JD has identified for 2025, which is hard to believe, but we're already, you know, almost halfway through the year already, so, to summarize, basically, if you look at what the JDA has done, through this end report, there's been a lot done in partnership with others, with cities, lenders, the state, the private sector and others, and really all of them, all of these things that the JDA has been doing are to help remove barriers to growth. And I'm 100% biased, but I do think it's kind of impressive when you think about the different ways that the JDA has supported that through businesses, childcare, housing, youth, initiatives, so, it's all things that help with growth, and as I mentioned, you know, we do need people, we need more people to, create sales tax revenue and lessen the property tax burden too, so. And help our businesses grow, they want to grow, and we need to help figure out a way to do that, so. With that, I thank you for the opportunity to come talk about all this, and if anybody has any questions, I would love to answer them for you if I can.
Any questions?
I just have a couple comments.
Okay.
Stacy did a really, it's the second time I've seen this, because we had a JDA meeting last week, I think, and Stacy did a nice job of summarizing this, but. You know, it's really impressive, I think, all that's happening here through the JDA, the $48,000 of investments that led to 3.2 million of business investments to me is a big number. And I'm really a big fan of the Spark build. That's a game changer. I think the whole idea behind that is to show that there's a market for new construction and to eventually eliminate that appraisal gap. And the more homes we build in these rural markets, the easier it will be to support an appraisal that will support the market. And so I know, you know, you've been involved in that to some degree. The Chodo's kind of the lead on that, but that's an incredibly important one. I like the career builders also, is, you know, when we're leading throughout the state, Chodo is leading throughout the state on that Spark build that was developed by Lisa right here. There's a lot of, and then of course the Child Care Center. There's a lot happening, and it's all good, it's all positive, and it's all trying to solve problems that we have here, but that exist throughout rural North Dakota, and so I'm really pleased with what's happening. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah, job well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything? Okay, thank you very much for coming in, Stacy, appreciate it. All right, Jason. You are last on our list. Good morning.
Morning. Using my month up there. Just eating the salad.
I put it on the side, let's see. Yeah.
Yeah. Morning. I'm waiting for the computer to start up, just want to go over a couple of things. The first thing on the list I have for you today, is a utility permit from NODAC for doing electrical line boring underneath County 12. South of Pizzic for a drain tile pump system that's already been installed. So it's just a continuation and finalization of that project so that they can get their drain tile up and running. So just looking for an authorization on that, move forward with that project. So we can get that one going.
Do I have a motion to approve the NODAC utility permit?
So move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Starting to wonder if everybody's sleeping on me. Okay, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll take roll. Amy,
Yes.
Ernie,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Danny,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion carried.
Thank you. The next item is a drain permit from Dale Zaradka. It's on 12B. And it's an area that we do have issues with the drainage coming off of that. I have no issues with Dale doing a clean out from bottom of culvert to bottom of culvert. We'll work with them on that one. Just south of Park River. So looking for authorizations on that one.
Do you want to do that one separately, or do you want to do both together?
I think that might be a conversation. so-
Okay, all right. Do I have a motion to approve the application for drainage permit for Dale's Radka on Baldwin?
I'll make motion.
Okay, any further discussion?
Are these both approved by the water board?
Yes. I'm gonna move by the water board this morning.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll take roll. Ernie,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Danny,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion carried.
Thank you. The last drainage permit application I have for you today is from Lowell Farms, Chris Fairby. It's for work along County 15. That field that they have that he's talking about had significant blow dirt this fall or this spring. Combination of, and it was affecting the drainage along County 15. Chris and Lone Wolf has had multiple conversations with my office, myself and the DOT about right of way infringements in the last couple of years, so. But they're looking for doing this one, but promising to take all the dirt and put it on their side in their field, not in our ditch. And we'll have to work on our signage there. This one does have a dike built in it. What he's telling me, and I have to verify, is that the signs that make it look like the dike is inside our right of way is because Sharon put the signs outside of the ditch, so it's easier to mow. If that's the case, we're moving the signs back to where they're supposed to be, to actually prove where that right of way sign is. It shouldn't be outside of where the right of way actually is. It should be where the right of way is. If they have to mow around it, so be it. Chris and I have discussed that as well, that those signs will be moving back if that's the case. So with that, we bring this one.
And
Why was DOT involved?
DOT has been involved with right of way infractions from Highway 81. We're just on the north side of Minto, so. They've got spots where they've been farming way close to the bottom of the road, so. DOT got involved with that one.
I told him to put this one on hold and talk about it just for the fact that he's been warned a couple times. He's also dug in our ditches without permits. And then, ask for forgiveness later. And I would like to see those, we did it with Mr. Nowak on 15. I would like to see those ditches planted to grass before I allocate another permit. This has been going on way too long, and if we don't put our foot to it, we've got everybody else pretty much on 15 that planted grass and stay out of our ditches. He's abused this one a couple times, and you can vote on it, but I would just like to see something done. Grass planted and everything taken care of, and then he can go in their ditch again.
So what was DOT's determination?
DOT's allowing them to plant back in the grass. They're going through that stuff along 81. And they're going to be making sure he gets the permits. And they told him if he continues this, they will be filing charges against them according to state's century code and statutes. So the same things that they would be going with, we get to assess the same type of lanes through our right of way program. So, and our policies that we have.
I don't see, do I have any documentation on any of this? I don't see anything.
I don't see it either.
Oh, sorry, I didn't get that one sent out. My bad, I guess I didn't attach that. No, this is on County 15, I can,
West of Voss,
east of Voss.
east of Voss.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Between Voss and Minto.
Yeah, between Voss and Minto, I can show you on the screen here.
So, Jason, while you're doing that, is this the one you and I discussed a couple weeks ago?
This is a different one. This is a permit application he put in for right here. It's along this portion of 15 where it's working. The one you and I discussed was some things where they've done cleanouts along 15A, some culverts through here, or they've reshaped it and those have been taken care of now. Or there's approaches where they cleaned up portions, but they didn't maintain the slope in the design, so, but those have been readdressed since then. So those pieces have been taken care of, but this one, like I say, this one does have a dike, you can barely see it here. Which is built there where our signs are actually on the back side of it. So we're remeasuring those and making sure the building what they're supposed to be. So.
I guess I'm not quite sure what we're being, I'm kind of lost here, I'm sorry, but I don't, you know.
This entire ditch from here through here is filled in with dirt. So below dirt. Yeah.
And so he went in and cleaned it out, or he wants,
He's put in a permit to do it for this one.
okay.
Yeah, in the past, he hasn't been, me and I discussed, oh, he does need to put in permits for everything. You know, I discussed that a couple of times, he talked to you about it, and I talked to him the same day, where I don't care how many permits he has to put in for taking care of bloater. He has to have the permit in before he does the work.
Yeah, I think the problem was is. Before you were here, the way I understood it, Sharon had a different policy than you.
I'm not, at this point, I'm hearing that too, but I'm working off the exact same policy that was written before. We didn't change any of the policy, any of that part of the policy since I started.
I think the key was enforcement.
Yeah,
Maybe.
but I know Chris said that at one point he told me that he put in multiple applications at one point and was told, quit putting that many applications in, it's just too much work. Well, I don't know.
Okay, so here he is applying for a permit now, and so I'm confused why you don't wanna grant him. Cause he's doing exactly what he's been told.
Right, and Mr. Novak wanted to do it and had a permit and everything else, and we put it on delay for the simple fact that he hasn't planted grass back in. He likes to farm our ditches, and he's been warned how many times on, especially with the 15A. You can see well, if they're there, a couple of them are knocked out, but we got our signs there and he's farming the ditch, and then every year he wants to come back and clean the ditch out because it's bloater. We'll plant the grass, stay out of our right of ways, and I can do it. And to me, yeah, it's a great deal, he wants to clean the bloater out, I have no problem. I got a problem with you not following our right of ways and doing what you're supposed to do. And we've harped on him for I don't know how many years to plant grass and do it right. He's the only one that hasn't really complied lately. And like I said, on 15A and down there, we got just about everybody, it was hard work, but we did the same thing. We stopped Mr. Novak from doing it until he planted his grass, and then we okayed the permit. And I don't think this is any different. I wanna see him stay out of our ditches, plant the grass like they should and not farm it.
But
That's the only.
not cleaning out the ditch is not gonna make anything better.
But if you let him go in there again without a permit, he's just not gonna plant again. We gave him a permit last year, and we probably shouldn't have, and he went and did it, and then he still didn't plant the grass.
So. Clarify my memory here, but weren't we going to send notices to these people that didn't plant the grass, and if they didn't plant it, weren't we going to hire soil conservation district to plant it? And then bill it to those individuals? Have we done that in this case?
And this one, he said he was getting it done, so we didn't, no.
I mean, I thought that was our avenue,
Yeah.
that we had decided to go, and then we also had decided that, no, we would not issue, or we would not approve permit requests. But I agree, this is kind of a tough one not to approve when it's clean out of a ditch. You know, the one I believe we denied a permit request, it was something that was going to benefit that farmer. I don't remember what it was. This is kind of a slippery slope. Amy.
And I mean, Mr. Novak, I'm sorry, but you drive along that it's a little extreme when it became some of what was being done from a slope and a height and seeing what for how many years ago, but I agree, and we don't all have the record that you do. I mean, I haven't been on this commission long enough to go back and say, well, we dealt with this how many years ago, we should carry this forward, and that's how we make our decision. I feel we need to make our decision with what's in front of us today.
What kind of teeth do we have?
Not that if you okay him again, and, well, we can find him. We can do what the state did, send him the letter, and you did send him the letter, didn't you? Yeah.
You got a letter for the violation 115A. Yeah.
Well, if we have to go in and clean the bloater out, and reseed the grass, somebody's gotta pay for that.
And we can, I mean, with the grass, what we've done in the past, is we have hired the soil conservation to come in and do it, and send the bill to the farmers if they were willing to get it done. And we can put a mandate in there with the permit that it has to be done in so many days upon completion. Not wait for a fall, but you know, with where we're at, sometimes with the fall seasons are a little bit better, because we're not getting moisture. But we can put that too. So if that was not planned by this date, we will be putting in, we will be hiring the soil conservation to do it, and we'll be getting it up.
It's gotta be more than the bill.
I can't do it more than the bill for it, due to century codes. But you can file grievances and other things against them and charges for not failing with that stuff. But for the actual costs, we have to do what the actual cost is. It's the same with when we go to do other work, we have to do our cost and can't make any money on it.
So when did he tell you he was going to get this done? I mean, we probably should have already been at this point where we had hired soil conservation and sent them out there and sent them the bill. And this would have been a moot point. Now, when he requested this, when did he tell you he was going to get this done? I guess is what I'm wondering.
Well, last fall.
It was last fall. So he said he was going to get it done last fall. He did not do it.
Yeah, got seeded, he says it's seeded now underneath the grass, or underneath his wheat, so harvest the wheat and the grass is gonna be there, is what he told me, it was a couple weeks ago.
So he's saying it has been done.
Yes. I haven't walked up into his field to see what's there, but
I mean, you're saying he didn't do it. If he says he did it, I think we have to see if it grows. I mean, otherwise you're saying, I don't believe you. Well, we're asking them to plant. He said he planted. I don't think we can do anything more until we prove he did it or otherwise.
I guess the first thing is establish the line, where that line is at, and
and we had a couple of senators put back up. And that have been taken down, that they'll have to do the bill for those, cause they didn't notify us that they were taken down. And that's part of the policy, if the sign is taken down, it's hit, and they notify us. It's not a problem, if otherwise, it's, they don't notify us, then they get a bill.
Was there? Is there any way we could table this till the next meeting so you could go out and see if it's been planted and put the signs up and?
There should be some signs of grass growing if you planted it.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, I wanna verify that if he's planted it, then I think this is we run with it, but. If he hasn't,
still need to clean the bowl.
Yeah, we still need to clean the blower, that to me is.
and
The blow-
I don't disagree with that. I think the blow dirt needs to be cleaned as well. But that was our policy. That was our policy that we put into place, that we wouldn't approve permits if they had a violation.
The blow dirt's in a different place than the 12A.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't have any, it's just a matter of getting him to plant. Now, and furthermore, if we put the signs up there and everything else, are you gonna let them combine it in our ditch and our right of way? Shouldn't be in our right of way.
Well, it's been my experience with establishing grass, the best thing you can do is leave that wheat there. That's what we do when we try it. We put in a cover crop, but we don't early and we don't harvest it, it stays there.
Yeah.
That's the best thing you can do. And yeah, put the signs up, how's he gonna harvest it? Take the sign down. So what facilitated the DO2 to get involved in this one?
Highway 81, they were up right at the bottom of the road. The DOT's been talking to them for about a year and a half.
They warned them last year and they finally got sick and fed up to it, cause. And I don't remember if you were in Bismarck when I mentioned it to them, I said, you know what, you're right away, and I said, what you do affects us. And they finally put some teeth in the game and they said, no, you're not beating me.
So he's got the same problem on state right away as he does on ours.
The trouble is all the other neighbors see it and then we get calls all the time. Why can he get away with it, why can't I? And that's just horrible. And how do you answer that? Well, we're after him. Well,
So we want both done. We want the blow dirt removed and we want the grass planted. We treat it as two separate situations.
Well,
Approve this to get the blow dirt cleaned out and you go out and check if that grass has been planted and we proceed with that.
I can treat them as two different ones where we work with this and then I go back on the other ones. We can do it that way. So then make sure this gets seeded and put it in the state, I mean, it's part of the policy that when you do it, it has to be seeded, so.
But he's saying it has been.
Mhm.
The other stuff, yes, but obviously this one, he hasn't cleaned out the dirt yet, so it can't be seeded yet, but he's told me the other stuff was seeded. And from what I haven't been down on Tomato yet, but I've heard there's grass on one side of 81 and not on the other. But I don't know. So.
I guess I don't know the policy well enough, obviously, but. If he's asking for a permit to clean the ditch, and part of that process is planting grass when you're done. How do you not give him the
We're
right
right to approve the permit.
Yeah.
Right.
to
I
get?
don't even know if he'd have to plant grass after he cleans the dirt out. There's enough grass in the bottom there and stuff, if he just got the dirt out, that portion would be okay.
Maybe.
So that's
Maybe.
not part of the policy, that it's a requirement.
It's a requirement. If the grass comes back, depending on how deep they're going, some of the places have been just skimming it. Where the grass roots are still there, and it'll come back.
It'll come back.
There's other places where people have been there, where they've done more than just the skims, where they've taken the root out, and then you don't get the grass come back, so then you have to get seeded.
And what you're saying is we shouldn't approve this because something happened prior, is that what you're?
Well, I just want some teeth in it, you know, he's been told for how many years, I don't even know already, to stay out of their ditches and plant. And we have done nothing that seems to scare him or make him to stay out.
Tell me about the signs, where are the signs and where should the signs be?
They're right on, they put a couple of signs that were in the right of ways, so we're, however many feet we are, I think it's 55 or 50, it varies across the county on, so which road, where they are. But there's supposed to be right of way signs that are out there, and there's some of them that were out there where you can see where they farm and then they go around and they come back in, and they tuck in around it. So they
The
just,
right of way signs are out there.
some of them are been knocked over. The ones on 81 for that where the DOTs were completely removed, so. But some of them are signs that are out there, some of them aren't.
It's clearly obvious when you see the signs and then he comes in and farms it, and then he goes out and then comes back in, I mean, anybody could see that.
Need to be more signs to.
And we're getting yelled at for, we got 2 signs there if we do, cause they're mowing and stuff, so we tried to work with the guys. And not only me, you know, got ice in there and there are a couple of them, and we tried to work with them, cause those signs are sort of a pain in the butt. Mow and do things around, so.
Not sure, remind me, is spring the best time to plant grass? I mean, is there a better time than
Spring and fall years, definitely.
spring and fall? Cause I like the idea of the policy, you know, stating by a certain time, so if it's done in the spring, grass needs to be planted by a fall date. And vice versa, if it's loader, it's cleaned out in the fall, then there's a by April 15th or May 1st or whatever, that there is something that there's a date in there so that they know. This is what we require for everyone, no matter who you are, if grass doesn't grow back, it needs to be replanted by this date, and so that's consistent across the board. So I don't know if there's a policy, I'd like to see that adjusted to something of that, so they actually have something to go off of.
I'd like to see the policy period, because I've never seen it.
Same.
I guess I'll make a motion to approve the clean out of the blow dirt.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll take roll. Jenny,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Ernie,
Nope.
myself, yes, motion carried. But I would like to see this other issue now, we need to
I'll take it.
move forward with it, because we've been hearing about this for years. This should have been already taken care of.
Yeah.
So can we request an update and the policy for next meeting to be
Sure.
able to
Absolutely.
review?
We need to establish that. The line.
Yeah,
And get more posts up.
yeah, it'll be, it's a bordering process out there right now, so.
I had trouble with the landowner doing this, and I put the posts up and I strung barbed wire. And that was the end of it. You get that wrapped up in your combine header once and you won't do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do.
Well, the trouble is we've never wanted to pursue it any further or go to court or anything else, and once the state made the move, I told him, let's get on this, cause now we can do it.
The state clearly identified the problem.
Yep. They were, well, when we talked to them in Bismarck, they were sort of a little leery, and I told the guy, I said, you know what? If you don't get on top of this, how do we enforce our right of ways?
Yeah.
And like I said, it's like anything else, 95% of the guys are great, and then it's the other 5, like, and every year when they keep telling you, I forgot.
I know, but then, well, he's doing it.
Yeah.
Next thing is just that I want to give you guys a project update. In the next couple of weeks, county's gonna be turned into a war zone. So, just to let you all know. I was meeting with Wade, we were updating a couple of things yesterday. He said, what he remembers at one point in time where when we worked with the counties, used to have a bridge project once every 3 to 5 years. Well, what you're looking at on the board, everything in blue and purple and orange is a bridge project. And the yellow one, this is a bridge project. So right now, we actually have 6 bridge projects that will be starting or ongoing in this summer, and this year. The Pankey Bridge is almost complete. Hopefully this next week, it'll get guardrails up, we'll get inspections, and we'll open that back up, so that'll be up and running. The IBI has started on the Minto Bridge, and the closures will be coming up there this week. Thorson Bridge replacement, that started this week. The Rutherford Bridge replacement, the Rutherford and the Thorson Bridge, the reason those are purple is because those are gonna be box culverts. The Rutherford one is gonna start the next week or so. Swanson Bridge replacement, this is yellow because that's one where it's a flex fund project, not entirely paid by the DOT. We'll have a 20% cost on that. That one's gonna start in the next 2 weeks. And this removal of this bridge will be going. This is the Dibble Drain Bridge that was hit, that will work on the water board. We discussed things this morning. Along that, with hydraulics and culvert sizings, we have an option, 2 different options that we're gonna move forward with, depending on the availability of product line. So we'll be able to get that one back up when we get those. And this is on the Fairdale Drain. It's a culvert that failed, that we're working on the water board because of the size, we get the cost share as well. They're gonna be starting on that this week, so we're working on getting some gravel hauled out there for them on that, so. These with the water door will both be cost shares that we have to do with those. Everything in black you see is stuff our guys have been working on, 3 different dig outs and a culvert replacement. This is actually gonna be coming out for a bid for a culvert replacement. It's too deep for we couldn't take care of it, so we'll be getting that one going. So that's what we're working on right now. What like I say, and then Lewis is on 12A and by Pizig and 15, working with the mastic, so they're working on those. We kind of took a break from the track sealer because they want to feel like they're actually making progress, so they moved over to the mastic machine for a little while. So we can get some stuff taken care of and cover some ground. So those are the areas that we're at. Hopefully with these replacements that we have going on, we'll have everything wrapped up in time.
Good to see.
Madam
Yes,
Chair.
Amy.
Jason, remind me on the Minto Bridge, is that wasn't that one just,
It's just on the south.
oh, no, this is not in the city,
Not
this
in the
is,
It's
yeah,
the one by where Phelan, not Phelan, Phil used to live.
yes, I got it.
It's right here on this one.
Okay.
So, yeah. There's been questions as to why we're doing this one, and the reason is because with this bridge and where it is, the farmers will be able to not go into town. We gotta give them a bypass. We're working with Grafton Township to try and do the same thing, with a pony truss out here. We're good. Yes, pony truss, we have to put up for adoption, so we're looking for a project that we can put that into. Wade and I also talked about just putting 10 of our pony truss bridges up for adoption, just to have that portion done and gone through, but then remove them or whatever until we get to other portions of the projects. But with that one, then we'd be able to come around the southwest part of Grafton and not have to go through town with equipment as well.
What does that mean, put it up for adoption?
Because it is a old pony trust and could have historic value, we have to make sure that somebody doesn't want it. So we have to do it, we have to do evaluation to see if somebody wants a historic bridge and move it to their properties.
I like the idea of doing 10 at once and just get them adopted ahead of time, so it's one by one.
So the black ones are ones you're doing internally with your crew, the rest are all contracted out?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Well, and this one is black, but this one will be contracted.
Okay.
I put the wrong color, that one will be contracted out on that one. But the rest of it's our guys, we got some stuff to do as part of that project, up by Adams here to do as well, that'll be one of the things we go through from here. We're working on, we finalized out some stuff for the Rasmussen Bridge, for ripping that one out to do a full retrofit, so we'll be ordering steel for that one, so we can get that one. Brought back up to, that's over here by Interstate.
So I'm assuming that the size of those bridges just gets too big for your equipment and staff?
It depends on what it is, the Rasmussen Bridge itself is a good sized bridge, but what that one will be is us removing all the wood deck. And removing the wood timbers, putting a new bridge gaps down, putting new steel beams down, and putting bridge deck back on it. Our staff can do those, this one for the Rasmussen Bridge, that's. Right over here, that one could get a little big for us. So for this one, we may have to hire somebody to. Come in and set the girders, just because of the length that is, it's 33 feet to the center pier. So we're not entirely sure our equipment is capable of getting it set out there, so it might.
It is an equipment thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but that'll be a team thing, we'll be in park and have, just hire somebody to set the center gap and one of our guys being there to do that. But then there are some that is, the pony truss bridges, you can't do anything with them. You can't weld to them, you can't drill holes to them, it's just the way that they were built. As soon as you start doing that, you're making the bridge and they're just unrepairable, so. As soon as people hit them, it just basically ends up being a closure. But, so that's the quick. High level view, I just figured it's been a while since I've done that, so I wanted to show you everything they're in, and if I were to cover every spot that we're putting gravel down, we would be able to see it. So, the guys are out there, Jim Thompson's covering a lot of ground so far. Our guys are covering a lot of ground, so it's coming up pretty good, could use some rain.
Definitely could use some rain. Okay, I know several of the commissioners have other meetings here,
Yep.
so they need a break, a dinner break, so let's go on to Hommy if we could.
Hobby, we're working with the state's attorney for eviction. Everything else out there is moving forward, but we're working with them on that. We talked about it again yesterday and moving towards pieces, we're just trying to get information put together, so. Her pickup is gone as of yesterday, but the trailer's still there, we're making sure everything's disconnected from it and. Moving forward, but I talked to her on the phone, she's trying to get it out, she's frustrated with the whole thing, she's frustrated with her insurance. Cause now they wanna do more investigations, she has to hire a contractor to come out and take a look at stuff. She's not having a big town on top of it, she had a daughter pass away in California last week, so. Once this is over. Probably as much, or if not more than we do. She's has to deal with them with it all. She's tired of working with insurance companies. She's tired of and she wants to.
So can I ask, is the insurance company not allowing her to move it? Are they saying she can't move it?
Yeah, it's the way it sounds, they want her to do some more investigation while it's sitting where it's at. So I'm hoping.
They want her to do more investigation?
Yeah, she has to hire a plumber to prove some different things or some stupid thing. So, yeah. So, but she was calling people yesterday to try and find some more people, she is having to just make it happen, so.
But if we move forward with the eviction notice, then she pays for that, correct?
I have no clue on that part yet.
That's what I understand. I visited with JR and she gets billed, Denny.
I sent the docs in and going there, so.
Oh, okay. I was getting finally to those this week, the water board, got us a new pair, only one, so, but I'll let Bob know you did it. Okay.
On the document.
Yeah.
What repair that?
There was a. The underneath window, the one that, well, it was cracked.
Let me know, I'll pull back out with any.
No, they did.
Oh, they did.
They finished their repairs, so they could go in, so I just let Bob know, so everyone doesn't have to put them in, yeah, perfect.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just a couple things, Jason. I've had really good reports from Helmy. People have been very pleased with how it's been cleaned up and looking. But there has been one question on a fence out there that's around some children's playground, not the main.
Secondary one.
Can we get that fixed, that fence part?
Send their guys up, good, yeah.
Okay, and then the maintenance position, is that advertised again, the one that?
It was supposed to be.
It's in the paper, I just saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had good reports on Omni as well, and I've been out there several times and looked, and wow, it looks very nice.
I have to get out there and, the main playground, definitely during that, so get those filled out and pulled out, but. Yeah, so we have to use special stuff and painted, so yeah, and fun stuff, so.
Okay.
Sometime I'll get out there and get that done, so.
Good. All right, anything else for Jason? Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and here's the paperwork. All right, any other business?
I just have a request.
Oh.
Anya just told me the BSO position closed and we're gonna set up some interviews if anybody's interested. If, I don't know if you want 2 commissioners, whatever. She just asked me to ask for volunteers if somebody's interested. So,
I know we talked, when she did her exit, a little bit more about from the health perspective, but that might be a positive, so I'd be willing to be on that if you need someone.
Okay, great,
thank you.
perfect, thank you, Jason. Okay, yes,
Jason, you order a plaque or anything for the Bridge Park River for? Okay,
I work with him on that one to get it, that was nice for it. Yeah.
okay.
okay, good, thank you, anything else? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.